Hello and welcome to London. We're here on the Maeving RM1S model, which is £7,495 from new. And has this unlocked the A roads of Britain for electric riders? We've been riding to find out, so let's see what it's all about. So this is the Maeving RM1S. The S basically is, to me, sports. That unlocks a 70 miles per hour top speed on this bike and is very heavily, of course, naturally based on the RM1 from Maeving, which has been a top seller in the UK and further afield. It's now in California, it's in Europe. And this bike, not only is it stunning to look at, it's really, really nice to ride. So I'll just cover a few bits that are different on the RM1S to the RM1 and just point out a few of the bits that I've really noticed that make this a little bit special for a bike. Of course, first of all, it's built in Britain and it's proudly put on a badge here on the side. And that basically means that the Coventry team will build the bike and they'll deliver it to you in the UK wherever you are. I'm not sure how it works in Europe, but I'm just talking to you guys as a UK audience. So the £7,495 that you pay for this bike, I think this tank is actually a little bit more expensive by maybe £500 or so. It basically gives you a bigger engine on the rear hub. And that means that the engine is now going to allow you to go up to 70 miles an hour. And the batteries are higher rated as well. Unfortunately, these batteries don't fit into the RM1, so RM1 owners can't buy these batteries and get a higher capacity. I think they're 33% more in terms of the capacity of the battery. The batteries themselves are stored down here inside and they're now stacked on top of each other. Now RM1, the battery was in the side, so you slot it inside there and one in the tank. You can ride with just one battery if you're only going to be doing around 40 miles. But the two batteries now means that you can get up to 80 miles even on this RM1S. As I say, 33% more in terms of the battery capacity. This does also mean that the tank space here is now free to use. So you can put your security in there, you can put your gloves, your phone. There's a little USB charger if you want to have anything on charge in there as well. It's a really handy space to have and there's no trade-off between that range or space. Now you get just the space and the range, which I think is a really nice touch. Of course, moving towards the front of the bike, you can see the carbon mud guards there. There's also some carbon inlays and I think it's a really nice touch, especially on these bikes which are very, very stylish. Particularly this bobber seat as well, which I think is a really nice touch. It sort of reminds me of the Triumph Bobber Chrome that I reviewed last year. And again, even riding through the streets of London, we've had just so many people constantly stop us to say, is this an electric bike? What's that? What's this? Where's this made? What does it do? How much is it? What's the range? So many questions about this bike and it's really good to see that even though it's the electric side of things that a lot of petrol heads won't enjoy, even your average motorcycle enthusiast will look at this and think, hang on a minute, what is this? This looks really nice. And I think that's a really nice thing, especially for the electric market to have as a benefit. And of course, this is built in Britain, which is always a nice touch as well. So running through some of the other bits on the bike, when you jump on, it's always in neutral and you've got a neutral button here and you can put it into drive mode to go, hold the brake in and press drive. And that gets you into mode 1, which is a sort of balance between eco and sports mode. You press the D button again and you go into sports mode and that's the full throttle action. And you can then press it again, go into eco mode, which will basically mean it powers, the limit speed is up to around 30 miles an hour. When you've got it in the full sports mode, it is just really, really rapid to accelerate to 20 and 30 miles an hour. And particularly when you're riding in the London roads here, where everything is basically 20 or sometimes 30 miles an hour, it's very nice to just be able to instantly get up to that speed. Though it is also quite tempting when you're riding along at 30 to just twist on a little bit more and just feel that power surge come through. Of course, it's electric and the power is either sort of on or off. But Maeving have really modulated that power. So when you're twisting on, it doesn't feel like there's a really jerky acceleration. It feels nice and smooth and controlled when you're increasing your speed up. We did then get out onto the A12, I believe, and we had a little bit of a stint on a 50 mile an hour stretch. And of course there, when I was overtaken, I got to potentially 60 miles an hour. And it just felt nice and smooth and controlled. Of course, the charge percentage, which is displayed on the LCD inlay, was going down quite rapidly. But knowing that you can just remove these batteries when you get to work and plug them in and charge them both at the same time, it's quite a nice feeling to just know that you've got that power now that unlocks the A roads. as well as then just the extra little boost of power at the low end. So if you're maybe going onto a roundabout and you've seen your opportunity, you don't need to have that hesitation that you may have had on the RM1, because you can just jump into that situation and just throttle through and know you're going to get to 20 near enough instantly. So it's very nice to ride and very smooth. You'll see as well on this one, you've got 19-inch wheels front and rear, and that just adds quite a bit of stability to the bike. It's unusual to have 19s on both the front and rear, but it adds to the style and it just makes the bike handle in a weird way very stable. When I was riding along, I saw the rear suspension really working for the other riders as well, where they're staying almost motionless, but you could see the rear wheel bouncing up and down. So sometimes you do feel those bumps, but it's nothing unsettling. And of course, because it's entirely electric, it's entirely silent. So you do hear a few squeaks and a few noises that you don't otherwise hear on a motorcycle, because you've got maybe an engine or you've got the vibrations that just cover all of that up. But riding around in London in basically complete silence was really, really nice and quite refreshing in a weird way. I'm quite used to some of these roads in London and they can be quite hectic, especially when you're filtering along. But this is a nice balance of the power where you need it, especially low down, the stability so you can filter around traffic and get to where you need to be, and just the silence, which somehow takes some of the stress away from when you're riding. Now also then looking at the brakes, you've got a combined braking system. You've got some pretty big discs front and rear. And I did notice sometimes when hammering on the brakes, they're really sharp and the instant braking power is there. But when you get to higher speeds and you're really trying to brake, you wouldn't get the same feel. Now, of course, it's a combined braking system, so you activate some of the rear and one of the front pistons come on. So you do get a little bit of a lurch forward, especially at higher speeds. But overall, the braking is great on this because you know that you can just hammer on both brakes. It's going to be a nice smooth application, nothing's going to stop the bike instantly. But it also does, when you progressively pull those brakes in, slow you down quite nicely. So the braking is really nice on this. Of course, that does then come to the price. Now, I was asking Maeving about whether they think that the pricing is a little bit too much for some electric riders, and they said that they've already had quite a good reception. Now, of course, they would say this, but I do believe them because the Maeving RM1, it was a top seller, and it was in this category one of the best sellers in the UK. And that then does lead me to believe that there is going to be quite a few owners of the RM1 looking at stepping up to get that 65 to 70 miles per hour potential. But then also the owners of maybe a bigger bike who want to have the capabilities of riding at that speed and jumping to something like this. Whether you just pay monthly and then it doesn't really hit you as a £7,500-ish hit in your bank account, maybe you just go that way. But I do believe that this is going to be something that a lot of owners are going to look at, particularly the RM1 owners that just want to unlock a little bit more potential for adventuring past the city roads. Of course, we're based out in the sort of Suffolk, Norfolk area, and looking at an RM1, it just wouldn't really be possible because there's a lot of A roads where you're going to be riding with cars that are going 60 miles an hour, and if you're capped out at 45, quite a scary prospect. But this being able to go 60 to 70 miles an hour, it's a really nice feeling. Of course, yeah, the price is a little bit up there, but for what you get in terms of the built in Britain, the power, the style, I think they've really basically got it bang on. Of course, we'll wait and see if there's going to be improvements to the battery tech and sort of solid state batteries and stuff like that. But as a product as it is here, if it's something you're interested in, I think it does have the potential to be a very nice bike to own and put in your garage, especially for a commuter, someone who lives in London and wants to get into and out of the office and just look back at their bike and think, yeah, that's quite a nice purchase there. Now, I will just say, if you want a full thoughts on the RM1S from Maeving, head on over to Lexham Insurance where you can check out the blog, and I'll have all of the specs, the details, and the full comprehensive thoughts written up there for you to enjoy. But until then, leave me a comment down below and just let me know, do you think this is the best electric motorcycle that's the 125 equivalent on the market today? I'd be very keen to hear your thoughts. But in any case, until then, like the video, comment, subscribe to Bike Matters for more, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.